Königssee in Bavaria, just outside the small town of Viesturs is the Royal Lake, the Königssee, and down this mountain they have been sliding since the early 1900s. In 1969, 51 years ago, they opened an artificial track, the first on the planet, and it is here that we have the 6th race of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Welcome back to Königssee, everybody. I'm Martin Haven, and alongside me, delighted to welcome Sweden's Leslie Stratton, who raced the track yesterday. Personal best on this track in the skeleton, but you started your career as a bobsledder. What are they going to find on this track?
Yeah, so from what I've heard, Königssee is a very, very fun track in the back of the sled and in the front of the sled. The start is pretty long, and you're going to go into a right-hander, which is subtle but difficult. Then you're going to go into the S corners. I'm impressed a bobsled can even fit through these corners, because on a skeleton sled sometimes I'm afraid I'm not even going to make it. So yeah, so then out of S4 into bend away. Spoiler alert, it is not straight, even though it might look straight on TV. Into Kreisel, this is a 3 pressure corner, so you'll see the sled rise and drop 3 times to the exit, which is easily one of the hardest parts of the track. These are the doodles. Very, very entertaining area, so watch out for that. Into Echo Wand, which is one of the most famous corners in the world. Then up through the left-right combination here and to the finish.
And it's that uphill 17-18 section that so often wins or loses races. At least that's how it looks on the timing, but mistakes all the way down the track catch up with you. Well, it's Kaylee Humphries of the USA who is our World Cup points leader. 23 points between her and Stephanie Schneider. World and Olympic champion Mariama Yamanka is gradually improving her season as she now creeps up to 3rd place ahead of Canada's Christina Brown. This is race 6 of 8 in the BMW IBSF World Cup, and after the final 2 races next week in St. Moritz and in 3 weeks' time in Sigulda, we head to Altenburg in Germany for the World Championships. So today we will have a field of 17 sleds. Got to say happy Burns night to any Scots watching. Also got to say good boy to Ricky the dog, who is also watching back at home. There's Mariama Yamanka from Germany. She will be trying to claim her first race win of the she claimed her first race win of the season last week in Innsbruck, trying to claim her 2nd race win of the season. It's been a little bit of an off-form season for her. Misha Mcneil didn't race last week. She's been under the weather. A lot of sickness going around in the skeleton field and in the bobsleigh field. Everybody seems to be catching it off everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. I know yesterday at the finish in the leaders box, everyone was a little tentative to hug each other, which usually you're excited. But yesterday it was like, are you sick? Not sure, and then you kind of go from there. So
yeah, stay away. It's red paint on the door and a handbell. unclean.
Exactly.
Yeah, and unfortunately it does last for a couple of weeks. I know all the Russian girls yesterday were coughing a lung up at the end of the run, and they weren't the only ones. The Russian men aren't healthy in skeleton, and there's been a few sick and lame in the Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Now, we were expecting to have a couple of extra sliders this weekend. Melissa Lottholt, Cynthia Appia came here in training, and although they've both raced monobob here, they were having trouble negotiating the track with their 2-man sled, so they have been withdrawn by coach Todd Hayes, which leaves us with 17 sleds. Should be plenty to produce an entertaining race. This track is always good fun. It's barely any longer than Innsbruck, but a lot more challenging turns here, Leslie. So, as you said, the upper labyrinth, the S's, and then the bend away. You've got to get off the Kreisel through the lower labyrinth. That can be a disaster area as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a driver's track, or considered that on tour. I know a lot of places you're uncomfortable with the height that you have, at least on a skeleton sled, and you have to trust it and, hope that what you're doing is correct because you've seen other people do it correctly, and a lot of it's just trust and feeling, and yeah, that'll get you down safely and fast, hopefully.
Well, it's double celebration because not only is it Burns Day today, celebrating the birthday of Rabbie Burns, Scotland's biggest poet, but it is also Chinese New Year. So haggis or crispy fried duck, I don't know. I think maybe the two. So to our first 2 teams on the ice, we will say Kong Hoi Fat Choi, happy Chinese New Year. Year of the Rat. It's when I was born.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yeah, so it's a very yang year, and hopefully the summer will be entertaining for all new and already existing rats. There's a great view of the track with the Kreisel halfway down. It just curls its way around the north face of the mountains here. Race 6 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. We're in Königssee in Bavaria. First sled on ice is Wai Mingming of China, with Wang Jiajia, her brakewoman, just 21 years old. The driver, 24, in her 5th World Cup start. Made her debut in Calgary last year before the World Championships. And Innsbruck last week, 9th place finish was her best race result. Martin Haven and Leslie Stratton watching our first sled on the ice.
Looks like a good load at the start here and a great entrance into the first corner. I know I've been really impressed with the Chinese program. They're up and coming, and of course they have the next Olympics, so they're putting a lot of resources into their program, but their results are you know, they're showing that. So it's been exciting to watch.
Yeah, they've thrown a lot of drivers at the ice and they've picked the best of them. Why having a little trouble on the bend away? We're going to see that. I think the track was a lot faster and skiddier yesterday in the women's racing than it was in training. I think that'll be the same today for the bobsledders.
That was a great doodles, though.
Yeah, neatly through. I think it hurts a lot less in a bobsleigh unless you're upside down than it does in a skeleton sled.
I can't argue with that.
119 kilometers an hour down at the bottom. So 51.27. Now, to put that into perspective, that is 99 hundredths of a second off our track record. We saw the track record broken in the women's skeleton and very nearly in the men's skeleton as well yesterday. So the ice is as fast as it's ever been. We could have a track record today as well.
Yeah, the Königssee track crew is incredible, and they always put together great ice on race weeks and in practice weeks as well. So you never know. I could totally see it falling today.
Yeah, and there you see what passes for a straight here. It's essentially 3 kind of corners, and you pretty much have to tap 3 times in a bobsled. Try and get away with 1 in a skeleton if you can, but there's a bit more to maneuver. So Wai Mingming sets the pace for her teammate. Ying Qing also made her debut in Calgary last year, and this is her 5th World Cup race as well. It's the 6th of the season. They stepped out for a couple of races to go and do the national races of China. When they were in Winterberg doing that, we were in La Plana, and it was Ying Qing who won the women's bobsleigh title. And in China, that is as important as winning an Olympic Games. It happens every 4 years, and the regions that support the athletes, it is a huge thing to have a champion in your region. 5:36, just a fraction quicker.
Yeah, I think they'll be happy with that, considering, and it was very competitive with their teammate too. And of course, you know, you wanna do the best in the race, but it's always an inter-squad race with your teammate. Yeah. So I'm sure they'll be really happy with that. But looks like the bendaway is a bit better than their teammate as well. I know optimally you take 2 to 3 taps in there on a bobsled, so look pretty good.
Into the inner curve, and then 3 pressures in the Kreisel. When you're in the back seat, you really feel yourself being ground into the ice there, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they always ask me as a brakeman if I ever got used to it, and you say yes, but the honest answer is no, you don't.
Speed at the bottom not quite as strong as Wai Mingming, so she'll drop behind at the line. Oh, she doesn't. 51.27.
Okay, consistency.
There you saw Pierre Ludus, the coach, with a wry smile on his face. Not even 100th to separate the 2 sleds. And Ying Qing started 4 hundredths of a second quicker. The rough rule is that you should be 3 times that margin ahead, but...
Yeah, it looked like her run was a bit cleaner than her teammate previously, but of course there's always room for improvement, so I'm sure that she'll be looking to move up on the second run.
Great view on the bend away. The track is set on the ground there, so you are standing higher than the drivers' heads. And then climbing high here, and that is through Echo.
That's always fun to see the roof.
Yeah.
It's a nice reminder.
That's high enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so our 2 Chinese sleds, joint leaders. Next up, Misha Mcneil, 6th in the race here last year. And happy birthday for yesterday to brakewoman Montel Douglas, turned 3. Misha, 26-year-old, junior world champion from 2017, also a Youth Olympic Games silver medalist.
Yeah, that's an incredibly good-looking sled too. I think the yellow is awesome. Also, shout out to them. I know they've put together a lot of their own funding, so you always like to see you know, teams who have that barrier to overcome do really well, especially on World Cup.
Yeah, all the British teams are funding themselves this year. It's starting to become like racing drivers. If you don't find money, you don't go racing. 100th back, one tap, little skid. Oh, and she just gets the back bunk knocked sideways. 109.7. The Chinese sleds were at 110.9, so she needs a good clean exit here. Little bump there at the bottom of the run. 800s back.
Yeah, it looks like she's piecing together a good bottom half. She'll probably want that bend away back.
But again, gets a skid.
Yeah, that uphill hit is, it hurts a little bit more than the other ones, so.
Well, she's got things to clean up. And again, after training, the bobsledders had different weather in training, same as the skeleton athletes, so they may have gambled on a runner setup maybe that hasn't given her quite the control that she wants on this hard, fast ice. It's always quicker here on race day. The spritz is always good. The track prep is always superb.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, sometimes that might change your hand movements when you're steering. Bobsled drivers, they actually have two handles. They're called D-rings. You don't have a steering wheel or anything like that. It's pretty simple in the sense of you pull right, the sled goes right, pull left, sled goes left. But they're very minute movements. So if the ice changes, they might even become smaller or bigger if it's frostier. So.
Okay, so Misha Mcneil is down. China 1-2, or tied for the lead. Now, Lara Nolte, one of Germany's young superstars, only the 4th World Cup for her. She has had 3 races in the World Cup. She's got a bronze, a silver, and a gold medal from those 3 races. Elena Nolte behind her. They come from the same area of Germany near Dortmund, but apparently no relation. 5:23, that's a decent getaway as well.
Yeah, something for the viewers out there. I'm sure you noticed on the push bar there are actually holes in it. Some people have them, some people do not. It's actually for weight reasons. So, it's a weight sport. You weigh when you get down to the bottom with your sled and the people inside. And the holes actually just take a bit of fractions, grams out of the sled, and that can mean, being legal and not being legal. So it makes a huge difference. It
also brings weight out from high up where it affects the way the sled rolls. And you don't want your sled rolling. You want to keep the runners on the ice. 3,700s up from 1,700s at the start. 119 kilometers an hour. That's as quick as anybody else.
Big speed, big speed.
And absolutely flying at the line. 119 kilometers an hour. That's 74.1 miles an hour.
Yeah, I know Lara's very young. I think she's early 20s, 23, I want to say. So this is really exciting for her to put together runs like this, especially at this level.
Well, we started the season in North America at Lake Placid with a new German slider, Kim Kalicki. She got a silver and a bronze, but then was beaten by Lara Nolte in the German selection trials at Christmas. So Lara is now in the World Cup squad. She's got a bronze, a silver, and a gold in 3 starts. It's entirely possible she'll be in the medals here again.
For sure, yeah. You can see the bend away here. She executed this very nicely. Of course, German sleds on a German track, they're great to watch. They usually have the best lines. And by usually, I mean always, so.
And she is having a great season so far, just full of fun and enjoyment. Well, 4th World Cup start for Lara Nolte, 45th for Nadezhda Sergeva of Russia. She started as a brakewoman as well, did 4 World Cups as a brakewoman and been driving ever since. 25-year-old brakewoman Elena Momedova, her 6th World Cup start. She started at the beginning of the year, and Nadezhda snaffled her up immediately. Well, this is a bit of an awkward track recently for Nadezhda. Crashed out of the World Championships in 2017, hunting for a medal. 5th the year after, but only 12th last year. So let's see if she can find a little more consistency here.
It's 600ths off the best start time of Nolte, but she's usually pretty quick, and she's a great driver, so I'm sure she'll make that up on the way down.
Yeah. Well, she'll hope to be not too far away from the Germans, but a big skid off S4, hit the wall on the inside, brought it down too early, and skates all the way down the bend away. There's no pressure there pushing the sled into the ice, so if you're in a skid, it just keeps going.
Yeah, and sometimes, honestly, it's better to just drive the sled into the wall just to get it back straight. Sometimes a hit actually costs you way less time than a skid, especially if it's a long one and down that straightaway.
2600s back to 3600s back, 1 kilometre an hour down in terms of top speed, and at the line she's in second, but 4/10 back, 51.25.
Yeah, that speaks to how good of a run the German had.
Yeah.
4/10 is it's quite the gap. So yeah, she'll definitely be looking to move up second run.
Yeah. Frustrated with that nice start. Not the easiest thing getting in either to the front or the back of the sled.
It's not wrong. I've kicked plenty of backs of sleds in my day, so it doesn't feel good. It doesn't get any better.
And out of S4, just brings it down too early, tags the wall on the inside, and you see the clouds of ice being scraped up. So Nadezhda Sergeva cursing that tiny error, and that cost her a good 0.2 of a second alone. Lauren Alton, Nadezhda Sergeva, and Wai Mingming and Ying Qing are our top three. Race 6, the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. We're in Königssee, Bavaria. Our sixth starter in the first of our two heats is Stephanie Schneider of Germany, with Ann-Kristen Strack behind her. 49th World Cup start after 22 as a brakewoman, and she finished in the bronze medal position in the race here last year.
Yeah, so you'll see the holes in our push bar as well. That's very common in all the German sleds. Also, a question I usually get is, are those speed suits warm? They're not. They're not warm at all. Yeah, Lycra is not warm, in case anyone's curious.
Luckily, it's hanging around 0 here, air temperature, but not minus 20 something like it might be at other tracks. 600s up. Ooh.
Little skid there. She knows this track though. She pointed it straight pretty quickly compared to the others. So. Looks like a great Kreisel. The exit is actually a little bit messy there, but looks like she's got it back on track now.
Well, Schneider looking to try and claim another medal this season. It hasn't been the strongest. She's been in the podium positions 3 times. Ducks ahead under the cowl. Everybody's starting to steal that trick from Anne van Nieuwenhuis.
It's a good trick.
Well, you know, people I'm sure think, well, really, does it make that much difference? You may well see positions won or lost here by 100th of a second, and so yes, it does. You know, if you've driven rubbish, no, it doesn't. But if you're close, then yes, it does.
100%. Yeah, especially on an uphill section like that, you don't realize how uphill it is till you go walk down there and look at it, and sometimes you don't even realize it on the sled. So obviously she's got good notes. So
yeah. Rattled the walls coming out of Kreisel, didn't she? Got very sideways. Hit everything in sight, actually.
Yep. Yeah, a little high on the exit here. Sometimes that works. I mean, at least on a skeleton sled, you have to trust it, but seems like she might have been a bit higher than she thought she was.
Bit high, bit late, and then all those walls just come facing you as you just dive out.
Yeah, they happen quicker than you think they do all of a sudden.
Slow-mo makes it look so easy. Well, yeah, kinda. Romania's Andrea Grecu next up. 15th World Cup start for her driving. Was just having a chat with Maria Constantin, the woman for whom she braked for so many years. Maria now in the German program, racing in Europa Cup, but Andrea still representing Romania. And her brakewoman, Katarina Vick, born in Germany.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I just shout out to the 2 bobsled drivers they have at JOG. They both won gold medals. I'm sorry, they both won medals, for men and women. So very great program up and coming.
Yeah, and they, you know, they are such a tiny bobsledding nation, work so hard. And Andrea Grecu started as a brakewoman, but as soon as she started driving, it became very apparent she really could get on with this. 4th place run at the moment.
Yeah, and their skeleton program's doing great too. They had Sebastian yesterday. He had his career best finish in the World Cup, so it's been really great to watch them progress.
Good to see them coming on. New Italian teams as well in skeleton and in bobsleigh. So some of the names from the 30s, 40s, 50s returning to the sport with speed and power. 7th place at the line for Andrea Grecu. Well, She was in 5th place in the race here last year. Paul Niagu there on the left, based in Winterberg. He's the guy that is the brains behind all of this Romanian bobsleigh operation.
Yeah, and clearly they're doing something correctly because they're stringing some great runs together. So sometimes, you know, you can only put sections together, and it's just a matter of time before you put some runs together and you really make a statement, and they're starting to do that.
So Andrea, again dropping out. Look, you see so many different lines coming down this bend away, depending on how you get off the S-curves.
Yeah, she actually executed this very, very well compared to the others. A couple hits there, but that's very normal. But the biggest thing you can look for is she kept her runner straight. There was no dumping of time there with some skids, so good on her.
Well, 5th last year. Let's see if she moves up a little in the second heat. We had a fair degree of that yesterday in the women's and particularly in the men's skeleton race. So one good run can have a big significance in the second heat. We're going to see a very tight group of athletes outside of our top 2 or 3. Well, here is perhaps the favourite, last year's race winner, Mariama Yamanka. One of 4 wins that she had in last year's World Cup season.
Yeah, and she's the Olympic gold medalist from 2018, so she's always a threat on every track, so you can always look for her to move into the medals.
Kira Lippahaida behind her, 19-year-old brakewoman. She won the Under-23 Junior World Championship here in February, breaking for Kim Kalicki.
That's a great bend away.
Yeah.
It's the best we've seen so far, for sure.
Again, Yamanka season started fairly slowly, but she is definitely hitting her stride now. Her aim will be to go to Altenburg, not her home track, and defend her world championship. Still in the red though behind Stephanie Schneider. The gap's gone out from 300ths to a 10th of a second. And 1:18.6, Laura Nolter was quicker, Stephanie Schneider was quicker, Yamanka only 3rd with a 51 dead.
Yeah, so we have German 1, 2, 3 right now, which,
Gee.
yeah, surprise, everyone's surprised. But yeah, it's great to produce in front of a home crowd. The crowd here has been incredible.
Yeah. Well, this is, I always think this is kind of like being in Lake Placid. You're a big sport in a small town, and the sport has been around longer than any of us. So the fans know a lot about it.
For sure, yeah, you drive through town and there's banners everywhere advertising the race, which is, of course, incredibly neat for a small town like this.
Yeah, and such a great, fun place to come.
It's not ugly here, that's for sure. Very pretty.
Yamanka with work to do in the second heat. Top 3 covered by 1500s as we get to the 9th sled on ice. Austria's Kati Bile, one of her best races on this track last year, finished just out of the medals in 4th place. One of her 2 career high results. She hasn't had a World Cup medal yet. She's the reigning junior world champion, won that title here in February this year. So, or 2019 rather, we're now 2020, Martin, wake up. So she does have great recent experience of this track.
Yeah, I know Innsbruck is actually not too far away from here. It's about 2 hours. So I do know Germans and Austrians kind of bounce back and forth. It's a nice, easy commute. So I'm sure she's had a lot of experience on this track.
Yeah, Liz Meyer came over yesterday from Innsbruck to commentate on the skeleton race here. 700s behind, 900s back now. So again, threatening the podium position now. She drives around the bend away to try and get that first square tap. That was a really nice run. 1:10.5 km/h down. What can she do in the lower labyrinth?
Yeah, she'll definitely be looking to build. That was a great, great top half. So hopefully she'll be rewarded here at the bottom.
She is losing no speed at all. 1:18. Good speed, 1:18.7, 3rd fastest. Is she going to challenge for the medal? She's going to be ahead of Mariama Yamanka at the line. She's in 2nd. What a run! What a run from Kati Bile.
Yeah, she's going to be so excited with that. And clearly her coaches are too, so.
Yeah, and her and Jennifer Onosanya only 700ths off the fastest start. So that's impressive off the leaders. They are just 1200s back, tied with Stephanie Schneider.
That's awesome. You love to see that type of emotion. That's why sports are so cool.
Well, last year they were at this track. The last time they were here, they stood on the top step of the podium and heard their own anthem as the junior world champions. They could be in the medals here again.
Yeah, that's definitely something huge too. You have a little bit of confidence on a track. It goes a long way, more than other people probably think. So
Yeah.
that mental, I guess, positivity is huge.
Well, you're going to love coming back to this track next year because you'll have such good memories of a personal best, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, I love this track. Easily just jumped into my top 3 from yesterday. Easily.
If it wasn't anyway because of the scenery, a good result always makes a difference. Now, Christina Brown of the Netherlands, 24th World Cup start for her, tied for 10th place with Switzerland's Martina Fontenev, and behind her, her brake woman, not the Booge, just Booge. Thank you.
Yeah, so you see Christine, a cool thing to notice, she doesn't have gloves on, so you'll see some drivers wear gloves, some people don't. Honestly, it's just personal preference, just with feel, because a lot of bobsled driving is obviously by feel, so some people like it for pushing, some people don't like it for driving, and you kind of have to pick which one's more important, and then that's the decision that you make.
Yeah, it's kind of like NFL wide receivers. Some do, some don't, and it's how you start, really.
Absolutely.
So Christine in 4th place at the start, still in 4th on the splits. We could have possibly not just the Austrians, but the Canadians getting in amongst the Germans. 600s back, this is a flying run. It looks as though the track is getting faster. A really nice run from Christina Brown. 2nd fastest speed from the Eurotech sled, and across the line, she is the leader.
Oh my
Whoa
God.
is right. Lyndon Rush loving that. Ties Lara Nolter. We have a tie for 3rd. Katy Bile and Stephanie Schneider. And Mariama Yamanka, who was 3rd quickest as she got out of the sled, is 5th.
That is huge, and you see it on the emotion there, or in the emotion there from the 2 athletes. Incredible run. If you can come down and be in 1st in Königssee and tying a German, man, you're having a good day.
You can come back again. You're making this a really exciting race. Just loving this action. Again, not clean. That last little left wall in the doodles is so hard to avoid. Is that Coach Graham Richardson actually smiling? I think he's not a grumpy so-and-so. He's been very happy. Wife Lisa's here as well. Tom Delahunty's family here too. Christina Brown, the leader with Lara Nolter. Katy Bile tied for 3rd with Stephanie Schneider. What an entertaining first heat. Race 6 BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup at Königssee, Bavaria. Martin Haven and Leslie Stratton from Sweden watching the action. 10 sleds in. We've got a tie for the lead, a tie for 3rd, and we've got a former winner on the blocks now, Kaylee Humphries of the USA. Her 6th start in US colours, her 124th bobsleigh race of all.
She's a 3-time Olympic medalist, so of course she'll threaten for the medals on every track. Great looking sled also.
Yeah.
Shout out to the US program for putting that together. That's it's very, very slick looking.
Yeah.
Very slick.
Well, she has the fastest start of the top 3. She's had 3 wins here, 4 silver medals and 2 bronze medals as a driver, so she knows where the podium is.
Great bend away there. Of course, you'd expect nothing less from Kaylee. She's an incredible driver. And so far, Kreisel looks great as well. I know her brakeman, Sylvia, came from weightlifting. She's an awesome person and a great athlete, so it doesn't hurt to have that power on the back of your sled.
Plus, maybe fix your laptop when you find it broken. She's close, isn't she? 3rd fastest, only 500s back. This could be in the top 3 as well. 3rd tied, no, on her own. 3rd ahead of Katy Bile and Stephanie Schneider.
Man, in the top 4 now, five sleds in the top 4 are separated by 1200. So
that is awesome.
Ooh.
1500ths of a second cover the top 6. Wow, we're going to have a fight for the medals. Right behind them, or behind them in the ranking, 4/10 back is Nadezhda Sergeva, 200s ahead of the tied Chinese. And Kaylee did not get into her BTC sled as cleanly as she'd have liked. Got hooked up on the cow. Luckily, the grooves run quite a long way here.
Yeah, the long grooves is definitely an advantage, especially in a situation like that. Some tracks, they just end immediately, and you're like, oh, gosh.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is it's such a short track to start compared to Innsbruck, compared to La Plania, so you don't run it deep here. You daren't run it deep here, so that helped them as well. All right, I think we might need something to calm us down before Heat 2. Martina Fontenev up next for Switzerland, tied for 10th place with Christina Brown of the Netherlands in last year's race. Her 21st World Cup. Nadia Pasternak, another one of those who's been struggling with illness. Trying hard not to cough a lung up at the end of every run during training.
Yeah, so we're heading to their home track in St. Moritz next week, which is another pretty destination, and I'm sure she's had the opportunity to have a couple runs there this year. I know the St. Moritz track opens a bit later just because it's the only natural track in the world.
The real problem, though, is you only get a week or so at Christmas, New Year, and then they were prepping it for the Youth Olympic Games, which had just finished last weekend. So, yeah, not much time for the Swiss. So it is home, but home territory advantage doesn't happen. The track's hand-built every year. It's all new. Now, 7th at the start, just slipping out a little to 8th position. She's battling with Sergeva of Russia and the 2 Chinese girls.
Yeah, she has pretty decent speed coming up through Echo and up this uphill section here.
1:17.5, 7th place at the moment and 7th at the line. So Yamanka is ahead of her and Sergeva behind her by 600ths. So from her through Sergeva, Wai Mingming and Ying Qing of China, we have 4 sleds covered by, what's that, 800ths of a second. So there's a battle as well.
Yeah, and she bridged that gap between the 8th and 6th place position. And the more you can do that on the first run, the more opportunity you have on the second run. So she should be pretty happy with that.
Pretty standard 3 taps on the bend away, dropping into the lower labyrinth. No surprise that so many shots of our program opener come from here. Look at Nadia Pasternak, just that little, we call it a tap on the wall. It's enough to lift her up and bump her out of her seat.
Yeah, we always joke as brakemen, you actually bruise yourself in the back. So it sounds lame, but it's true.
Well, they're built to take big 100-kilo guys who are as broad as you are tall. So, yeah, the brake women, in fact, even a lot of the men have pads to stop them bouncing around. Next up, starter number 13, World Cup number 13 for Russia's Lubov Chernik. And she finished in this race last year in 13th place. Is it one of those Chinese synchronicity deals? She's got Yulia Belomisnik behind her, most experienced of the Russian brake women.
Yeah, so you'll see, I guess a fun fact, you'll see their shoes. They're called brush spikes. For all you track athletes out there, they're very similar to a track spike, but actually on the front they have a plate with about 400 needles. So that helps you grip the ice. It also helps you kick your friends on the way into the sled. So, you know, you don't want to do that. It's never a fun day, but it happens.
It does happen. Trying to load fast is not the easiest thing. 109.9 kilometers now, 111.6 is the fastest. She's inside the top 10 at the moment.
Yeah, it was a great exit of Kreisel. It was a bit lower than some of the other sleds, but she clearly has something going there. That was it was awesome and it was working out for her.
She's done a couple of Europa Cup races, last year's World Cup race, and she raced in the Junior Worlds in February, and again she ducks ahead for speed, 51.45. Didn't have a huge amount of pace at the bottom. She was a couple of kilometers an hour away in terms of top speed, and that leaves her in 12th. 500s behind Misha Mcneil, 200s ahead of Andrea Grecu.
Yeah, it has to be said, that's a great looking helmet job. That is awesome.
Well, I saw that in Winterberg, brand new helmet for her. Went up and said, hey, you a big Valentino Rossi fan? She said, who? Sorry, Valet. Yes.
It's still awesome, but that's really funny. It's a great story.
Well, no, exactly. I mean, and that's why she just thought it was an awesome design, which it is. Valentino Rossi's designs are always stunning, but she had no. I had to show a picture. She went, oh, right, okay, yeah.
Yep.
Fine.
Credit given where credit due.
Greatest ever motorcyclist, yeah. Never heard of him. Next up, Anne van Nieuwenhuis, 45th World Cup star for Anne, her 40th as a driver. And Spanky their sled, the original and genuine BTC prototype. The heaviest sled in the field. Europa Cup bronze medal here for Anne in the December races. She didn't go to North America. Her World Cup best here, 7th. Last year, she was 8th with Sarah Ertz, her double Olympian.
Yeah, so on the start there, you saw the view of the brakeman in the back. Optimally, you guys want to, the driver and the brakeman want to hit the sled at the same time. The driver has a lot of different techniques to be able to do that. Some people start on the bar, some people run at the bar and try to time it up. But it's a lot of synchronicity happening, and even more so than it looks.
11th fastest start and into 10th position. And Anne had some really nice trips down the track. Look, drives around just to take that first glancing blow. 3 square hits down the bend away. 1:11.1, that's very good speed.
That's easily one of the best bendaways we've seen, so we'll see.
This is a track that really plays to her strengths. They're not the fastest pushing team, but boy, she can drive up a storm. And the speed is good as well. 1:19.3 is the fastest of all, 1:18.9. This could end up being a top 6 run. Speed of the line, 7th place, 51.17. And how far behind Mariama Yamanka? 1700ths of a second. Well, you expect Yamanka to do better, but look at Anne.
Yeah, she's excited. That's awesome. She should be. That's an incredible run. And yeah, sometimes, I mean, her speed is great. And sometimes if you just compare that to the rest of the field, you can see how much potential you have on the second run with your setup and your drive. And
yeah, there is the birthday girl, Sarah Ert's birthday today. So,
happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Schönes Geburtstag, as they don't say in Belgium.
Yeah, so you see Kreisel here, you'll see the 3 waves, obviously very standard. And then her exit is a bit lower, which seems to be working really well for those who are doing it. And yeah, she had a great little doodle section here. I know doodles are called a lot of different things. We call them doodles, but yeah, it's a fun section to drive, and she nailed it.
But they didn't have a name until the Canadians started sliding here, and that's where the name came from, the Doodles. Yeah,
that's a fun
They
fact.
actually have actual names, but they're known as the Doodles. All right, next up is Elena Ostapenko of Russia. 4th World Cup start for her. Didn't race here in the World Cup before, but she has raced here in the Junior Worlds, where she was 6th last February, and she was 8th here in Europa Cup in December.
That's great. Experience on a track is huge.
Yeah.
And yeah, the more runs you have, the more feeling you get. Even if the ice is good, bad, you know, if you're sideways, whatever, the more runs, the more feeling. And yeah, the better results you'll put in later on in your career.
Elena, last year's Europa Cup champion.
And she's really executing some nice S-curves, and she threaded those needles to the exits.
Yeah, nice lines as well. Driving like a veteran. That's why she's had good results here. 1:09.6, again, like Sergeva and Chernik, not the best speed. Wonder if the Russians have got too much control on this ice.
Yeah, you'll see on the exit of Kreisel there in the duel, she took a bit of a hit, but it set her up perfectly for the next curve, so.
Speed 2Ks down pretty much, and she'll drop to 15th place at the line behind Andrea Grecu by 1500ths. Elena in only her 4th World Cup start. Yulia Shok-Schwaber behind her, the 31-year-old from St. Petersburg, with 25 World Cup starts today. So putting the experienced brake women in behind the young drivers. But Elena, she knows that there's work to be done for the second heat.
Yeah, so you'll see the exit of Kreisel here, a bit lower like we were talking about, but she pulled it off brilliantly, and yeah, she set herself up very well for the doodles.
Well, watch the brake woman. That's always a good tell of how violent or otherwise the sled's transition is. Just an inch or two of clear air, and then she's back down into the seat. So Elena, still very much on the learning curve. What a tight race we have. A tie for the lead, top 5 covered by 1200ths. 15 sleds down, 2 to go in the first heat. And Brianna Walker of Australia, her 4th World Cup start, the 2nd for Stephanie, her brake woman, who in real life is a firefighter for New South Wales Fire and Rescue, so she would otherwise be very busy back home in Oz right now.
Yeah, it's really awesome to see an Australian sled on World Cup. I know they've been in the last couple of races, and it's always great to see a warm weather country break into sliding sports.
Raced here, Brie, in Europa Cup in December. Also raced in the monobobs in that weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say she's tearing it up on the monobob circuit right now.
She really is, and she's based here in Germany. Boyfriend slides for Germany. Big second pressure, has to haul it off in the 3rd. Late. And that's the problem with the doodles. If you aren't right on it at the beginning, you hit all of them on the way through.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a tricky section for a lot of reasons, but one reason is the way you correct it can actually make it worse. So you have to be very, very precise in there.
For Willemsen, the coach there on the left-hand side, helping out with sliding. And so is Sandra Kroll, who raced in the World Cup for Germany a few seasons ago. She's helping quite a few of the girls here with lines. So they're down and safe, but it was a bit of a lumpy start to the second World Cup for brakewoman Stephanie Preiska.
Yep, so here's pressure 2 of Kreisel. You'll see the sled rises a bit more than some of the other sleds, but she tries to control it, and unfortunately just was a bit early out, but tried to save it, and she had some great lines there. It was just a couple mistakes that were costly. See the fans there by the wall stepping back as the sled rattles past them, and again, that was close as you want to come to parking it. Yeah, the sleds are louder than you think they are, and sometimes you'll find yourself jumping back, and you don't even know you're doing it, and then someone makes fun of you, and you're like, oh, I did. It is possible to roll a sled there, and she needs to tidy that up for the second run. Okay, our final sled is Tania Vicencino of Italy. Third World Cup start for her. She made her debut in La Plania, and the girls crashed in both heats, got up, got on with it again. Silvia Taina, her brakewoman, her third World Cup start, made her debut in Winterberg with Giada Andreuti. Yeah, it's incredible. Their story in La Plana was really neat. It takes a lot to get back into a sled after crashing. But of course you want to do it. You want to get back in the saddle, and you want to prove that you have what it takes to put a clean run together, and it always makes you mentally a lot happier once you can put down one after that. Yeah, go to the IBSF website, find the little social media piece that they did with the girls after La Plana, and they have drunk the Kool-Aid, there is no doubt. Again, big second wave. She didn't hold the pressure, so she's going to rattle the way through the lower labyrinth. Ooh, yeah, similar line to the Australian right before. Yeah. She seemed to pull it off a little bit better there at the exit, but yeah, very similar. Again, they're both relatively new drivers, so a little bit more luck than judgment, perhaps. But that is that second pressure that gets away from them. There's Manny Mahata, local boy here in Berchtesgaden, Bavarian slider, so he knows the lines. And it's just having the confidence as the driver to hold the steer when he says, and it's all right if it works in training, but then if the ice is different in the race, then where do you go? Yeah, it's a lot of feel, and it's a lot of split-second decision-making, no pun intended there, because you have to guess and hope that what you guess is correct. Again, the lower labyrinth producing some of the roughest rides in the business. Yeah, and Italy has the Olympics. They just got the bid for 2026, so it'll be really cool to see. Their program's already incredibly strong through the sliding sport, so it'll be really cool to see how she comes up in the program. New track being built for the Olympic Games in Cortina d'Ampezzo, one of the legendary bobsled tracks. Another pretty place. Yeah, oh my goodness, so it's just jaw-droppingly beautiful. So, what a race we have on our hands. We have not one, but two leaders. We have Kaylee Humphries of the USA in third, and our top 6 sleds are covered by 15/100ths of a second. Lara Nolter with Elena, her brakewoman, and Christine de Bruin with Kirsten Budznovsky. You were close. Wretched Canadian. They are our joint leaders, not even 1/100th of a second between them. Take a look at that top 6. Pick a winner, I dare you, from that. I'll tell you what, better than that, predict the podium. That's going to win you big money. Anne van Nieuwenhuis in 7th. Just about to equal her career best. Martina Fonteneva up from 10th last year to 8th. Nadezhda Sergeva, she's got room to maneuver as well. And the two Chinese drivers, Wai Mingming and Ying Qing, ahead of Misha Mcneil, Lubov Chenik, Andrea Greco, Elena Ostapenko, Bree Walker, and Tania Vicencino. So everybody down and safe, and nobody having problems in the outrun here. That's it for our first heat. The second heat will begin at 1:30 local, 12:30 GMT. That is 07:30 Eastern. We'll see you then. Meanwhile, from Leslie Stratton, me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew, Auf Wiedersehen. We'll be back in a while.